Who qualifies for MSHDA? What are the requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a list of requirements that MSHDA looks at. So it varies a little bit dependent on your individual situation. To give you some general guidelines, though, we're basically breaking things up into targeted and non-targeted areas when we're talking about MSHDA. So in your non-targeted areas, you do have to be a first-time home buyer, which means basically you didn't have any home ownership interest in the last 3 years. So even if you had a home, but it was 5 years ago, you're now considered a first-time home buyer again. If you're in those targeted areas, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. There's also going to be some income limitations, so how much you make, that's going to be dependent on the county that you're in, again, targeted versus non-targeted area, as well as your family size. Moving a little on from that, they do have some credit score requirements, and these are pretty important. So basically, their bottom line is going to be a 640 credit score. That's for your stick-built homes, things like that. If you're looking maybe a manufactured double wide, something like that, they are going to look for a 660 credit score. So we do have some credit score requirements on there to be aware of, but really MSHDA does allow for a pretty wide range in terms of who's eligible for that program.
All right, so what are the income limits of MSHDA?
And so MSHDA has a fairly long list for the state of Michigan that's broken up on a county-specific basis, as well as broken into targeted versus non-targeted areas. So depending on where you're at, it can be pretty unique to your situation. My best advice for you in that situation would be to reach out to your loan officer, tell them a little bit about who you are and where you're at, and they'll be able to provide that specific answer in terms of your income restrictions there, depending on where you are, family size, and things like that. One other thing I did want to point out, Luke, is that MSHDA does have a purchase price limit with how much home you can actually buy. So
how much is that?
They cut that off at $224,500. So you can't go out, you can't buy a $300,000 home and take advantage of the MSHDA down payment assistance. But anything at $224,500 and below is going to be eligible for the MSHDA down payment assistance. Here in West Michigan and Michigan as a whole, you're still going to have a really big selection of houses for you that are available and ready to go.
So how are the qualifications for MSHDA going to be different than FHA or conventional?
There are stricter credit score requirements. So like we said, that 640 to 660 range is where you really want to be, whereas FHA, without any down payment assistance, is usually eligible to about a 580, with conventional being down to a 620. You're also going to want to keep in mind that FHA and conventional by themselves are a little more flexible when looking at your what's called debt to income ratio. And to keep this really simple and short, what we're looking at is your monthly mortgage payment and other debts compared to your monthly income. They're going to be stricter on that. They want a little bit of a tighter bound on that, so you're not overextending yourself while also getting this down payment assistance. So if you were to reach out, maybe you already got approved FHA or conventional, and you have that max pre-approval price in mind, you might see that down a little bit when you're taking a look at MSHDA, just because they are a little bit tighter on their guidelines.
How do I get this MSHDA loan? How do I go about getting this?
So my best advice would be to reach out to either Stu or Luke, which are really awesome loan officers, but really anybody at Treadstone Funding. Any of our loan officers are incredibly well-versed in the MSHDA down payment assistance program. So anyone here is going to be an awesome resource for you in terms of getting that application process started, walking you through the steps, and getting you qualified, and making sure that we are checking all the right boxes up front to ensure that you have a smooth transaction.